Coming to you straight from the Rio Grande and beyond. Broadcasting to the four corners of the globe. So grab your seat, your coffee, or your sundowner.
Okay, everybody, here we go.
On point, as always. This is Gloves Off. Gloves Off.
We're back at you in Gloves Off. I'm Paul Buitron. I'm here with Jose Salazar of Frist Podcast Radio, and it's a podcast that deals with community, political, and just issues all around. And how are we doing today, Jose? You doing good?
I'm doing great, Paul. Thank you for inviting me. Fortunately, my brother, who I do the show with, couldn't be here, but I'm happy to be here. And thanks for the invite again.
No, and we'll do another one with your brother. But let's touch base on how did you come up, because things are shifting, media's
Yes.
shifting and news is shifting, and it has for the last, I'd say, decade. So a lot of podcasts have become very popular because they allow people to see different viewpoints that usually the regular media does not allow. How did you all you and your brother come up with the idea of the First Podcast Radio?
Well, I credit my brother because he's the one who saw that we didn't have a conservative podcast. That's what we dedicate ourselves to: conservative views. We see things, constitutional. We're constitutional conservatives. We see things that we follow what we believe that it's best to follow the Constitution. That's what keeps everything. All this mess, all this things that we're embroiled in, it is because we've strayed so far from the Constitution, which is also the reason that my brother came up with the name, the first podcast radio, alluding to free speech, because it kind of prophetic, because it started in 2015 and we've been at it on and off. And he values free speech a lot. I do too. So this is what we started. And you're right that alternative media is now going to be a source of information. It's so controlled, everything's so adulterated, so filtered, and that we need to make sure that we do get the truth out, that we do get our voice heard also.
No, you're absolutely correct. I was listening to a dear friend of ours, which is, I'm going to quote him, Sonny Pusicas, and you know him very well. And he was earlier today, and he said, you know what? I still see people posting on social media and trying to wake up and trying to embed our opinions onto those of others. We can't do that. They've already shown their side. They've already shown the way they are. They've already shown that they could care less whether we try to be nice or not. So he goes, just keep on doing with what you all are doing, which I see that, yes, you see it with the filterization of certain social media platforms, that if you say the wrong word, all of a sudden you're blocked, you're removed, you're punished in some way that's saying, wait a minute, but to me, it's not offensive, but to somebody else, it might be, So unfortunately, that's where we are now in the United States and across the world, that a lot of people have the wrong ideas from feelings getting hurt and from opinions, and that shouldn't be the case, because everybody should be heard and everybody should be special, But let's touch base on one thing. How do you see the future political stream? A lot of social media was used in the last couple of elections. How do you see it in the future?
Well, it's hard to tell how far the left is going to push, because all this has started, and the ones who I think it touches the most passionately with are people like Sonny Pusicas, who came from a totalitarian government and left a totalitarian government. I have friends of mine who are from Venezuela who were contacting me during the elections. They said, you know what? I'm for a lot of these liberal policies. However, I don't want to see a leftist trend in this country. I fled Venezuela to come to the U.S. to get away from a totalitarian government, and now here it is. These are people that were not. They're not Republicans. They're not conservatives in the traditional sense, but they do value one thing. That's their right to speak, but they also value our right to speak, and yours too, Paul. You're doing a great service by doing this. I think that it's going to be left up to citizen journalists, and I do use the word journalist in a loose sense because the word journalist right now means absolutely nothing. So I leave it up to us to be able to discuss these events, um, to be able to offer platforms that where we can debate ideas, Paul. But where do we go? What do we do if we're pushed off of every platform? Where where are how are we supposed to get how are we supposed to get our word? I mean, the U.S. was supposed to be, the mecca, so to speak, of free speech, where you could say what you wanted and advocate for ideas. I mean, all these great ideas. How do great ideas come by? How do people organize to create great societies and the great country? It's through communication. It's through talking to each other. What's going to happen when we cannot talk to each other? And that's, I think, the biggest fear that I have for our nation. We're not going to be able to talk to each other.
We live in a sense and in the world right now of fear. With the pandemic going around, with everything going in. Last year we went from one mask and everything locked down to now they're talking about two masks, and even anal swabs are coming out with this stuff. And you're like, where are we going with this?
Yeah, they got you covered from both ends.
You know what I'm saying? So you're like, wait a minute, I thought it came out through your nose. You know what I'm saying? So, but it came in through your nose, and that people do not understand how not only idiotic, how, don't get me wrong, because I believe that there's a virus for those folks out there listening. I believe that the virus is there. It's deadly if you get it, and certain people are in that risk. I think that happens, but I also believe that there's a scam going on here too. You see?
Definitely.
And when a lot of people right now, it's like that older kid that steals a lollipop from the 2-year-old. The 2-year-old can't defend himself.
Exactly.
The 3-year-old does have nothing to defend himself. But then that bully turns around, and that kid now is 14 years old, and that bully's 18, 13, 14, 15 years old. When all of a sudden now that 18-year-old might get his butt whipped.
Yes.
Understand what I'm saying? So when you start putting the planes in an equal kind of, everybody's in the same plane, it changes.
Yes.
One thing I hate is bullies. Okay, I've hated bullies since I was a kid. I was bullied, and then I defended way too many kids and friends of mine in school and growing up from bullies, and I was always getting into fights and so on and so forth. And that's nothing to brag about, but that's just part of life. And what I see now is our own government are bullying the people.
Yes.
Not only the citizens, the small businesses. I mean, they're bullying them to submission, and they're like with a smile on their face, like if they're doing something great. It's going to come a time that they're going to say, it ain't going to happen here anymore. And it's happened in other places, and people aren't going to like it. But right now, everybody's running so scared that if you tell them they need to do this, they're running scared with fear because of the way it's being pushed, and that's going to change a lot. And what I'm trying to get at is that's going to change a lot in the sense of politics. Because I said this before last year, and I remember we had a conversation. I said, I don't think the incumbents are going to make it because of this pandemic. I go, the ghost of COVID is going to come back and haunt them. And I think that's what's going to happen with everybody that's in our local public office. I think the next elections, they're kind of going to go through. And that's where social media comes in. That's where podcasts like yours, that's where podcasts reach out and give a different viewpoint of a candidate, of a person, of a agency that's doing something actually good. Because a lot of people that are, there's an old saying, no saludes con sombrero ajeno. And I think that's what's happening here in Laredo.
And that's true because I think we haven't seen it more clearly than this election cycle, this COVID situation, that what happens in our own backyard is what matters most. I think it's what is it, Rule 6 from Dr. Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life, that you have to get first you fix your room or something like that, that you have to get your life in order first before you start telling try saving the whole world. Get yourself, your home, your backyard, your city, your street, your district in order before we start to change the whole world. We're trying to bite off more than we can chew, and I think that's one of the things that we learned the hard way here with our podcast, Paul, is you've been doing local politics. We had not been doing anything local. We just recently switched during the election cycle and right after COVID, when we started seeing some of the corruption or misuse of funds with COVID. We started to see people using the CARES Act for their own political purposes, trying to deliver food and saying that it was from them. We talked about that. And that's kind of when we were first started doing local politics. We had been probably maybe not the smartest thing to do. We have only been doing national, but we've recently switched to doing more grassroots, and that's what my see what our podcast does is this, Paul, is I bring the perspective from Laredo, and my brother brings a perspective from San Antonio, where he lives. So he does this show from over there while I'm doing it from over here. He's exposing things over there and discussing about things going on in San Antonio. I'm talking about things that are happening here in Laredo. And we are going, I know that right now it's city employees who wear 2 masks are supposed to be wearing 2 masks. How long is it before we're all wearing 2 masks? How long is it? I mean, if 2 masks are safe, are 3 masks safer?
No. It's a never-ending thing. But you have to understand where and how their people are coming in to vote, and where the pressure is. I understand.
Yes.
I don't know if you saw the last city council meeting.
I sure did.
It was deception.
Mm-hmm.
And not only deception, it was depressing to see. And the other word that I'm going to use besides deception, depressive, and it was, how can I put it? I was disappointed.
Yes.
Okay. And I understand where they're coming from, that people are getting sick and people are dying and so on and so forth is going on, blah, 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 blah. But they're running blind inside a burning building, and they know where the exit is, but they're still running around in the inside, and there's a big, huge door.
Yes.
And people say, since something's happened, we have to blame somebody. So
Yes.
Here's the way they're doing. They're blaming small businesses. They're blaming bars or restaurants and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
They're blaming it so much. Even the media is blaming it so much that the citizens of Laredo hate small businesses. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
That's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm seeing when you start looking at all the hate speech that goes on with several of the news sources out there towards small businesses. Hey, wait a minute. Some of these small businesses have been part of the community for a long time, have helped out the community for a long time. You've seen them help out kids in little leagues and baseballs and funerals, and they'll help you out when, and they're going after that. They were going after the bars, blaming the bars dramatically, to the point that myself and several others we're talking about it. And I said, you know what? Do me a favor. I said, look to see where that person works, if he works.
Mm-hmm.
Just look at it to get an idea of where these people are coming from. And they picked, it was a number of 47 people between several of us. And I said, okay, come back and tell me later. And one of them was surprised, because he says the majority of the people that hate, and they're talking with hate towards small businesses, are people that work for the city of Laredo,
Mm-hmm.
for Webb County, for the school districts. I go, those people have an income that's coming in. Not saying that all of them do that, but this is those that came out of the poll of different people going out there and doing that little research. There was somebody that said work, and he says, aquí no más, Yeah, aquí nomás. And then you had a lot of people a lot of professional moms, the ones that have soccer teams.
Mm-hmm.
And they were going in there. And one of them said, I don't know what I should do with this. And I go, listen, we can't dox anybody. We're not that way.
Yeah.
And they showed one that the bar she was yelling at, that weekend before, she was taking selfies inside with drinks and everything, and holding up and everything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Let's stop being hypocritical.
Yes. And
Understand what I'm saying?
that sounds like something that you right now that you said is from the book 1984.
Sure.
George Orwell. Yes. That people just start pounding on people because Big Brother tells you that this person is bad. So everybody just jumps, bandwagons against the people. And my heart goes out. You're right. My heart goes out to small business owners right now who are struggling. It wasn't the HEBs, the Walmarts, the Amazons. I mean, they made money during COVID. They didn't lose money during COVID. They made money. And I know one of my particular relatives, he's a small business owner. He is the owner of a bar. Okay. So right now he's having a hard time because of the bar. His other business, you know what his other business is? Oil and gas. He got two whammies right there. He got hit twice right there. And that's it. That's his living. That's how he makes his living. And he's having a hard time now because of what's going on politically and what's going on. Also, COVID also affected the oil and gas industry. And of course, what happened with the bars. Now, you also pointed out something right now, what happened in our last city council meeting. What disappointed me the most was to watch our city council people go against the advice of the attorney by telling them, if you address this, it's out of the agenda, you're violating the Texas Open Meetings Act, and it's against the law. And they still did it anyway. And people will say, well, hold on, Joe, hold on, dude. Lives are being lost. We cannot waste one single day. If it was so important, why wasn't it called the week before? Because it happened, I think, on a Monday. Why wasn't it called on a Friday? Why didn't somebody? Because any council member can call for an emergency meeting. Why wasn't it called on a Thursday before or the Wednesday before? We've known about the situation, Paul, for a long time. That a lot of people are testing positive in Laredo. Why wasn't it called back then with that particular agenda item? Why did it have to be done the way, that particular way, and against the law, which is what the attorney said, and I believe the mayor also reiterated, and some of the city council people, not all of them, some of them most of them went with it, but not, and that's very disappointing, because
Joe, there was only two people that did not vote,
mm-hmm.
and the rest voted, and problem is nobody's holding them accountable for it.
No.
And people say, immediately that day, immediately the next day, I had a lot of calls from people that want to do recalls on certain people. And I say, well, that's a good idea. If you want to do it, go ahead, go do it. Okay. And, and if you have proof in what they did and it violates that, go ahead. But this is the second meeting of the year. And
yes.
Already the second meeting of the year, you've seen the Eagles already tip top.
Yes.
And like I said, there's a saying in Spanish, and hopefully people listen to it, and I'll translate it. Dicen, no hagas una cosa buena que aparezca mala, y no hagas una cosa mala que aparezca buena.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So that's what's going on here. Do not do something good that is bad, and do not do something bad that looks good. You know what I'm saying? So
yes.
And people might take that to note, but once you start habitually breaking the law, like it was done there, and nobody does anything about it, not even a slap in the hand, they couldn't have waited the next day. They couldn't have said, you know what, an emergency meeting, okay, it's against that. You know what? One of them would have said, I make a motion that tomorrow at 12 o'clock we have an emergency meeting to deal with this issue. Boom, se acabó.
Yes.
But the way it was done, the way it was pushed, the way it was like, me, I do this, and it was very depressing to see that our city is leading down that road. Don't tell me that you're going to break the law because of this. Nobody, if those are if it's too much pressure for any of them, raise your hand and say, you know what? I can't handle this anymore. Okay? Nobody's going to tell you anything bad. Let's have a special election to get somebody there that can handle it.
Exactly.
Okay?
Exactly. And nobody's saying,
but once you start doing things illegally, things are gonna go. It's already a habit now. The next time the next two more meetings they're not gonna do anything. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do whatever. That's when you get into those little dons, those little duchesses that are gonna be running around there telling people what to do. It's gonna get bad. Laredo's gonna get bad. You think the road system happened before? You just saw it right now.
Yeah.
And it's going to get bad.
And I'm very concerned about that too. I'm very concerned about that too.
It's going to start spiraling out of control, and unfortunately, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, because it was all done in the name of good, and I'm not saying that it was not a necessary thing. I'm not saying that's not the thing that we're arguing. What we're saying is that if you're going to do it the legal way, do it the right way. That's all that we're saying. And you're right. If you do something and you break the law and you say, well, it's all in the name of good, dude, anything you can change, and anything that you do is now in the name of good. And you started that slippery slope, and that's dangerous.
Tell that to the young gangbangers that are selling drugs because it's all in the name of good because they're helping their mom pay the rent. Tell them.
Exactly.
Tell the prosecutors that it's all in the name of good because they need to eat and their mom needs to eat. That's why they're selling drugs, and that's why they're coming across with illegals. Tell them that. You understand what I'm saying? It's all in the name of good.
Oh yeah.
A lot of things have been done in the name of good. Okay? In the name of good for what? Hitler did a lot of things in the name of good.
Oh, yeah.
And people are like, let's not go there because they're already going into that totalitarian government, that draconian measures. They're going into that, it's my way or the highway. There's two trains coming.
Yes.
And nobody has switched, and it's just going to go boom. And unfortunately, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's true.
The trains the drivers already jumped ship. They've left, they've seen it. And the trains are coming and they're gaining more speed. And one's going down the mountain, the other one's there, and they're just going to meet right in the middle of it. And unfortunately, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And nobody is paying attention to when do we switch the lines? When do we get somebody on board? Nobody. Because it's just like.
And if you monitor social media, a lot of people were very pleased with the actions of the city council. That particular one, that they broke the law to save lives. That's the way they saw it. They for some reason they didn't think like, well, if it was so important, why wasn't it done beforehand? They didn't think of that. They just saw that little snippet of it, and but didn't put any other thought into, hey, well, why didn't we do this before? Why wasn't it done legally beforehand? And I read a lot of comments on social media, a lot of people posting, a lot of people saying, yeah, way to go. This is the right thing to do. But it could have been done before, and it could have been done legally. And people, and we, if that's the kind of government that you're asking for, that will break the law for these things, then like you said, it's going to happen easier now because they got away with it once with a pat on the back. Hey, good job. So now, it goes back to something that an older gentleman once told me when I was very young. He said, we were talking about politics and stuff, and he said, and I'm sure you've heard it before, el pueblo tiene lo que el pueblo merece. The people have, the community has what the people deserve. And that's so a little warning right there.
Then that means that the Tannenbaum stuff that went on, that means it's okay. Let them do it again. Now, it's for the better good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was for the better good. Water.
Yes. Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So,
yes.
Highway. It's for the better good. Less traffic. You know what I'm saying? So, and unfortunately, that when you think of it, oh, I'm doing it for the better good, and people say, oh yeah, look what he did. You know, it's sad and nothing bad, because I know all of them except for one, the new one that went in there. But the majority of them I know personally. I know that they're good people. They're trying to do something there, but they have to stop acting with fear and sit back and look and say, you know what, we have to start doing it correctly before they get in. That's how you get into trouble.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they have shown that they're willing to get into trouble.
Yeah,
it goes into the other thing, you know. And I was asked this question the other day, and I was talking to several that small business owners who were getting together trying to unify some of the folks here, because there's no help whatsoever. And it's the community, not Laredo. It's Laredo, the citizens of Laredo, that's going to keep alive some of these small businesses. If not, they're going to die. And they said, how come we don't ask the city? Listen, we've asked the city many times. The city has no plan whatsoever. The city has demonstrated that they do not give dilly squat about small businesses. They've already demonstrated that. Okay, they've demonstrated it, and they prance it. And even though they say, oh yeah, we're here with a small business, they could care less.
Yeah.
Understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
And it's unfortunate that our city has taken that turn. But they've already made the hole. It's dug too deep. This year, they're not going to get out of that hole. They're digging it more. The year after that, it's going to go worse. They should hire some more individuals that do not know what they're doing, and continue moving it forward, because that hole is just going to get bigger and bigger. By the time you know, it's going to reach China. But what gets me is this. What showed me that they picked a good city attorney. Okay? And that city attorney stood up there and said, this is wrong. Boom.
Yes.
It's going against this. Boom. And guess what's going to happen to that city attorney? They didn't like them getting mad. So God forbid, within 6 months, they're going to be looking for another city attorney. Watch what's going to happen. Because that's
Very
the way Laredo politics is. That's going to be very, very sad.
If that happens, that is very sad, Paul. You know, speaking of sad, I don't know if you remember about a week ago or so that you got a some kind of a warning from the city of Laredo, telling you, you know, it's better to stay home, not to go out.
Several warnings.
Yeah. Yes.
By a text.
Right. Exactly. Well, you know, it could come out as a warning and giving you information or whatever, or it could also be perceived as something scary, very scary, and it affects businesses. We went to the couple of days after it came out, we went to a particular restaurant that's a popular restaurant, and we went around 7:00 or so. And we went to pick up just coffee, but something just to get out of the house, you know, have a cup of coffee, whatever. Would you believe that restaurant only had one table with one couple? Before we got there, it was only one table with one couple. So we asked the guy, I said, does this usually have a lot of people? Is this usually the way it is at this hour? I said, oh, no. Ever since that warning came out, we have had very, very few people coming into our business.
Absolutely. And you know what? I understand the concern, everything else, but the city should also do this. That warning, they should also put it out there. You know what? We have some bad heroin going on. Warning people, there's bad heroin going on, and there's heroin all over the city of Laredo.
Yes.
Let's stop the heroin. You know, guys. There was a councilman that wanted to pay $25 for people to point the finger at other people because they weren't wearing masks or some stupid shit that they had too many families inside their house. And you're like, are you serious? You know, there's a word that's called Quislinger. Used in World War II, was a Jew that was paid money by the Nazis to point the finger at other Jews for them to be left okay, but the other Jews were not. They were called Quislinger. So now it's used throughout as a snitch. So now they want to build Quislingers. Why don't we do that? Why does the city of Laredo say, you know what, we're going to pay $50 for everybody that says that right there's a drug house, and let the police do their work. Yes. Because Crime Stoppers hasn't been doing anything for the longest time, but maybe the city of Laredo can. But no, but now they want to do that for people. It was the biggest, when I saw that, I was like, where we headed?
Yes.
Where we headed? You know what I'm saying?
Yes. These are things that affect cities, and we go back to, like the people that we live with. We want our neighbors, we want to be able to coexist with our neighbors. And one of the things that we're also pushing in our podcast is to stop this notion that canceling of the people you disagree with is good. The somebody, we've already had some of this canceling also going on. That's another big thing that we cover in our podcast. And people think that, it's only happened to Goya Foods, My Pillow, President Trump. A lot of people, I saw Facebook, and man, it was a bunch of people happy that they had silenced Donald Trump and Parler. But it doesn't stop that. The problem with this type of canceling is it doesn't stop with those figures. It trickles down locally too. We've already had a taste of that. We had I don't know if you remember that incident at Cultura Beer Garden, where one of the food trucks was ousted because he posted against BLM, and Cultura Garden is a supporter of BLM, so they were ousted. We had that incident when Webb County Democrat Chair Silver Bruni called the police and reported Republicans who were picketing with during the primary, during early voting and the 2020 election. That she said that they were being harassed by the Republicans, and the Republicans were thugs. We have that type of canceling. We've had it already, and that gets scary, and because your neighbor is your neighbor going to be a Quislinger later on, and are they gonna snitch on you or whatever because you don't agree with them because you had 11 people over for dinner? What are we moving towards?
But that's going to happen. It's happening, and it's being condoned by the city. And they think it's okay, and what's going to end up happening with this cancellation, they're already canceling small businesses by the city, but what they're doing, they're canceling them left and right. Then they say, we're for small businesses, but everybody should close. And then you have even the doctors come out and they say, don't go to work, don't do this, be civil disobedience. That's incitement. Yes. And you're like, really? I mean, and it's sad to see where this is heading.
Yes,
it's sad to see because, like I said, it's 2 freight trains coming, and they're speeding down each one in 2 different mountains, and they're just going to hit down the middle. Somebody better start moving one of the tracks to another thing because it's going to hit hard. And believe me, when it does, I don't want to be anywhere near it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
understand what I'm saying, and
yes.
And it's sad to see that. It's sad to be that way. But right now, more than ever, for a while here in Laredo, before COVID started, people were more lax. People would say hi. You'd be driving, even see somebody wave. And people now don't even say hi to you.
Yeah.
Understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
And you're like, whatever. But it's sad to see that, you used to go put gas at the corner store and you knew the cashier and you talk a little bit. Maybe you see a police officer, you talk to him and how you doing and leave. That was part of our days.
Yes.
We go someplace, you knew the people. Now they're looking down. And you're like, really?
Yeah.
Understand?
And then you get that clumsy handshake, like, okay.
Yeah.
You don't know whether to shake somebody's hand or just, fist bump or whatever, that hopefully we'll all get through that. The vaccine is another thing. I don't know. I'm still, I'm still like, I don't have an answers for the vaccine. Is it good? Not good? This is the first time that we ever said that we needed a vaccine for something we had a treatment of that I know of. We had a treatment, right? We have several options for treatments. options for early treatment, options for later treatment. We know that we have an idea. I say idea of the mortality rate because we don't know how many people actually. We will never know, Paul, how many people actually died of COVID. That's sad. We will never know how many people actually died. But again, this is the first time that we've had some kind of treatment, and we still had we said we needed a vaccine desperately for it when we already had treatment. So I don't know. I mean, it is real. People do get sick and people do die. I don't know of anybody who says no, you don't. It's nothing. It's nothing. I don't know very many people who think that way. But there is a certain aura of that there's something fakey in addition to just regular COVID. There's something very fakey about it that people are using it, and people are hiding behind COVID, just like they're hiding behind masks. They're hiding behind COVID.
No, you're absolutely correct. The pandemic is real, but so is the scam. Mm-hmm. And like I said it before, we're going to find out 4 or 5 years down the road that there was a lot of scamming going on, and you're going to see a lot of these individuals that used it. Hopefully they throw the RICO Act after them, just like they do the mob, and take them down. Hopefully. Because they've caused a lot of disaster to a lot of people. And hopefully they go down, and hopefully they, like I said, they use the RICO Act on it, because this is not just one person. There's not two. This is a group of individuals that has been, how can I say, they're all intertwined. It's not just one. It's like a bunch of people come together. Mm-hmm. But nonetheless, we're not going to fix the world. We're just giving opinions. And I'm going to say the following to folks out there. Folks, stay safe. The virus is out there. Be careful. Try not to live in fear. And also, when you guys go out and vote, because elections are coming up soon for some individuals here in Laredo, especially, do your research, see who they're from, see what type of actual people are, because they all use the following things, credibility, eligibility, integrity, accountability, and transparency. And you find out that, yeah, they were so transparent this past meeting. They even broke the law right in front of us. You know what I'm saying? So transparency, they're doing pretty good. Now they're just breaking in front of us. Behind, it was just behind the doors. Now they're doing it straight in front of us. What else do we know?
There's transparency right there.
There's transparency. So bravo with all of them. They were transparent. Yeah. So folks, pay attention to who you guys vote in. That's the only thing I have to say. I'm going to continue doing the interviews for those that wish to come out, that want to be candidates, that want to come out and tell your story. I'm not going to support anybody. In fact, I'm not even going to vote. Really, to me, this election did one thing. What we knew that was going on in Webb County happened nationally, and now everybody's awake that there is voter fraud in elections. But it's always happened in Laredo and Webb County for years.
Yeah,
and it was always there, and all your urban stories and all this other stuff, and now it's national, but nothing's going to be done about it. The only thing that I might vote for is and I'm going to say this, and I'm an American, but if they place it on the ballot for Texas to secede from the Union, I'm going to be Texan first. And Texas is a lone star. Texas is the brightest star, and Texas is going to lead everybody go forward on these issues that are going on here and right now in America. And if Texans feel that we need to be our nation again, and like Sam Houston said, Texas one day will stand amongst nations. We have to do it again to show the world.
Very true. Very true. No. Thank you so much for having me, Paul. Keep
you.
Doing what you're doing, brother. Keep doing what you're doing, because it's very valuable. You bring candidates together. You show the community, get to know these people. But it's up to the people to do more research. It's up to the people to go talk to them, call them, write to them. They're just people. We use terms like the honorable in front of a councilman's name or council member's name. But I don't even like that because it puts them on a pedestal that's so high that it shouldn't be like that. They're our servants. So, that we shouldn't have that. But, thank you for what you do, bringing that forth, bringing people like us, and who might want to tune into us. If you want to listen to things about politics, being a Republican and supporters to President Trump, that's who we are. You don't like our message, that's fine. You can still listen to us. Or you don't have to. That's a great thing about a free country. That's a wonderful, beautiful thing about a free country where you can say, do we have it still? I don't think so. I don't think you can say whatever you want to say. Something that I said 4 or 5 years ago might get me fired from a job. That was perfectly fine. But still, keep spreading your message. We'll continue spreading our message. Keep informing the public, just like we'll keep doing. And thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you, and keep on moving forward, folks out there. Be safe, stay sound, and stop living in fear. Until next time, peace.
Today, in America, more than 5.5 million men, women, and children train in a martial art regularly. Buitron Academy has been serving Laredo for over 30 years now. Our adult classes are geared for producing the best in you, teaching you street-ready techniques. With the arts of Savate and Kenpo, you'll learn the traditions of these sciences of combat as passed down professor to student.
Hello everybody, my name is Senior Grandmaster Alfredo Bandalan, owner of BDP, Bandalan the Parties. I'd like to say a few words on Grandmaster Paul Buitrón. He's a man of great integrity, a man of great knowledge of martial art. He's a master of Savate and master of Eskrima. He's a man that can help you to become what you want to be. He's a man that teaches people how to be somebody in life, how to work the world, how to be happy in this world. He's a man that I can say holds many integrity as well as in martial art. But I'd like to say this man has a radio station that's hunting all over the world, and he works with all kind of people, all walks of life. All I want to say, that Paul Buitrón is a man that can help people to be somebody in life. I'd like to say aloha, thank you.
I am Grandmaster Michael Duran of Original Huron Eskrima Federation here in Vallejo, California. Professor Paul Buitrón is an accomplished martial artist who has developed an understanding that as a caretaker in our martial arts, it is his responsibility to keep the art alive and in depth. He acknowledged that it is the students that give the art life. I hold his friendship and his continuing accomplishments in the art in the most highest regard. Thank you.
Come train at the best kept secret of Laredo. Give us a call for your free evaluation at 956-401-4868 or check out our website at savate.biz. Follow us on YouTube and Facebook.